over. Alright, you guys, well, Sam was just here. He just took off. We just kind of played around a little bit. He wanted to check out the 310. Here's a 310 walk around for you guys. And I don't really know where to start. I guess let's start with all the specs on the machine first and go from there. So spec wise on the machine, a 308, a 309, they're kind of on their own spectrum compared to the 310. The 310 just is a heavier duty machine above those. Bigger pin size. So I mean, like, spec wise, I don't want to bore you guys too much, but spec wise, for me, that was important that I can tow this machine. The tag on this specific machine says 25,000 pounds. That also adds with, you know, you got to make sure you add on your steel tracks if you have steel or rubber tracks. I did get the track guides for this machine, and then also the additional counterweight. All that's going to add into the total of the machine. A lot of people don't also think about, I also have a thumb. There's extra weight right there, and this hydraulic coupler adds extra weight. Each bucket, I have 3 buckets. I have this 18-inch, I have a 36-inch bucket, and I have this 71-inch bucket here. This is it's a big bucket. That's a 1-yard bucket, or 0.89 yards, 1 yard heaped. So that all constitutes to a lot of weight to be on the deck of your trailer, and it adds up really, really quick. And I just had to make sure that I can tow this with all the implements or buckets that I need, or masticator or grapple or whatever the heck I need to tow to get this thing to the job site. So with that, a 310 specifically has bigger pins than the 309 and the 308. They are 60mm pins versus a 50mm pin on the bucket and boom system. They're all just much larger pins. On a 308 and a 309, it's only a single lift cylinder. This is a dual. And as you can see here, there's no rotating cylinder, or there's no rotator here. This entire system is much further back, just like a true actual excavator. So with that, you get that much more lift capabilities, that much better weight distribution to when you're picking up something extremely heavy. So that's kind of why I went more with this machine. Yeah, it doesn't have the dual pump system like the 309, but you can actually buy one. It's not cheap, but you can get a dual pump system on this. However, I've seen, read, heard, talked, as long as you're not tracking and you're not doing a huge amount of functions at the same time, this thing runs a masticator head just fine. It does a great job, especially with a 75 horsepower motor in this thing. It's got high flow and everything, and it's already all plumbed up for it here. It's all ready to go. So Cat has made it extremely easy with all the diverter valves and everything to run a masticator or whatever else type of system you want to put on this. And the serviceability on this thing is awesome. You got this panel here, you got your battery disconnect, battery right there, your entire block here with all your hydros, fuel filter and water separators right there. You can even put a grease gun in here if you want to. Air filters right there. And these doors are huge. I mean, you can really step into this machine, and you can see all the way through to the back of the cab over here also. And your rotators right down there. Easy to check the oil and service that if need to be. You shouldn't really ever need to service that, but in here is where you can get to your air filter and your battery. This valve right here is if you want to use a breaker, I believe. It's just so it's not a return flow. It's just a single flow or a one-way or something like that. I never really use breakers. All your condenser, coolers, all that type of stuff's all right in here. And it's pretty easy to get in there and clean them all out, get all the dust out of there, which you can kind of see with 70 hours on this machine, or you got a little bit of dust on there. Back here, and these do, I think all of them come with backup cameras. And back here is going to be your main engine compartment. That's going to be for your oil filter, oil fluid check, oil fill, and whatever else you really want to kind of look at. Sorry, I was in some dusty areas a little while ago. You can see where the weight really adds up. This entire thing is the counterweight for this machine. It is just absolutely thick. All this is all your counterbalance here. I mean, just a massive amount of iron. And then slap on another big old sucker right here for more weight. So that is your motor compartment there. And then right in here is just your actual pump and windshield washer reservoir. You don't really ever need to get into this door, but that's your big old pump right there. If you wanted to, you can put a secondary pump on here. The last I heard, they're like 40 or 50 grand. This system works just fine. And of course, your governmental regulation nonsense right there. But on the plus side of that, it is below the DEF, but it is still a tier 4 final machine. But at least there's no DEF, which I like. Another thing compared, I didn't pay attention to a 309, but a 308 only has a single cylinder for its blade. This is a dual cylinder, and this thing is beef. The blade looks small compared to the machine, but compared to my mocks and my leg, I mean, it's a good sized blade. You can definitely push around some dirt just fine with this thing. Your first gear tracking on this machine is nice and slow and controllable and gradual. The final drives on this thing have tons of power. They will push through dirt like it's nothing. They have a lot of traction. This system has tons of traction and tons of power. And the second gear function, honestly, this thing tracks pretty fast in its second gear function. Grab it, the maximum power. And then let's go inside the cab here. And the cab, for me, is extremely spacious. I mean, I'm 6'1", and like, there's lots of room in this cab. So sitting in the cab here, again, super big, super roomy. I do want to get everything tinted. This thing is like a big old fishbowl. But the HVAC system, the heating and the AC, it'll sweat you or it'll freeze you out for sure. The Cat's HVAC systems have always been the best in my opinion. So from there, I guess being in the cab, I'm just gonna kick on the ignition here, get her started up real quick so you guys can see everything else that's going on in here. All right, so here's your entire pretty much like mini iPad for display here. The camera is super crisp, extremely clear, super good on the camera side. Pretty much the entire machine is controlled off of this, which some people like, some people don't like. I'm a 50-50 because it feels like if one thing fails, everything fails, but you know, it's a pretty dang good system. You still have some button functions here. I'll just run these down real quick. So right here is just to mute your audio on your stereo. Here is to actually mute the alarm on the machine when you're tracking, washer fluid, windshield wiper, and this mode is just for a secondary. It like puts more beef and flow into the actual lift cylinders of the machine if you want to pick up something extremely heavy. All your lights on the machine here. This is your throttle right here. You rev up or down. So these buttons here are all for your screen here. So if I hit this home button, it's going to put you straight to this screen right here that we're looking at. And if I hit the button on the right, it's going to start going down to all your settings. And you can see all the different settings you got going on in the machine. And you can click on that with this joystick right here. You can push and move around on here. Or if you want to, this is all touchscreen also. So you can do either or. And, I mean, there's just tons of different things that you can adjust on the machine. All the different work tools you can have programmed into the machine. I mean, these are just all just ways that you can have everything on your system that you would like. So it's very detailed, and there's tons of different ways you can go about it. This button on the far left is how you actually disconnect your bucket from the excavator. So I'll get this switch down here. So if I just pick up the bucket a little bit here, I'll show you guys. So with that, there you go, just release the bucket. and then you want to hit unlock again if you want to release the safety pin. But for now, I'm not here to undo the bucket. We're just going to lock that back up. And then you always want to check your bucket, make sure it is locked. So we're good there. So it's that easy. If you want to get a hydraulic disconnect, that is an option on these machines. That doesn't just come with it. You got cruise control function on this machine. You can run your high flow system on the machine, change your implements here on your work tool selector. It's very fast. It's not delayed or anything like that. Nice thing too, you can see right there 72 hours. It gives me my rotation and degrees here of where the machine is exactly sitting. So it's kind of nice if you're trying to do grading and you know you want to get something lasered and you want to try to make it all level, like some kind of a pad, and you're scooping out of there. At least you can make your machine level so you're not taking more or less out with your bucket, especially with the 71-inch bucket. Let's say you're cutting 1/10 over here, and if you're angled a degree, you're all of a sudden you're cutting 2 or 3/10 on this side when you want to do that. So these are really nice to have. And when you bring the machine to level also, it'll actually give you a nice green indicator showing that you're level. So let's see if we can get this thing level real quick. Just like that. So at least we know here, machine forward and back is level. So, but we're still tilted off to the right. But yeah, so I mean, there's all those different ways you can adjust everything on the machine to just make your life a little bit easier on the job site. Again, changing implements when you never have to get out of the machine, that's a win in my book. All right, so then coming to your joysticks, right here you got your blade and you got your track speed adjuster right here on this button. You can see it change right there. And you also have it on your joystick for adjusting track speed. And of course, you got your horn right there. This is your thumb. And you can switch that to whatever. You can even switch that thumb joystick over here if you wanted to. All right, so but on this joystick, other than the regular normal excavator functions, one thing I do like about this machine, you hit this button right here, come over here, and it's only going to do this the first time you do it, every time you start it. So enable joystick travel, you hit OK, and just like that, see this entire system right here. Now pick this sucker up real quick. The entire machine acts as an a skid steer control. Everything happens from your joystick, forward, back, left, right, and don't think you didn't lose any functions from your boom and stick. All you got to do, if you want to rotate the cab, well, you got to switch over your hydraulic system here. So with that, you can see here when I switch that over, it goes to the excavator for the rotating housing. So now I can rotate the housing just off this thumb control right here. So if you're tracking and you need to move, you still have that capability. And then the moment you want to stop and you want to use your foot controls, like right now, you can see these are dead. It does absolutely nothing. The moment I turn this off, it goes back to normal. I can start tracking again with the foot controls. And then this just goes back to its normal mode. Honestly, I didn't think that system right there was that big of a deal for me, but I've used it a lot more already than you think. It's been a really, really nice thing to have. So I mean, that's honestly the bulk of it. Again, the cab's huge. It's super roomy. You got your sky view up here. You can see I've looked through this a lot of times already. This thing has such a high reach. This thing has just such a high reach. You definitely need to use that sun window here, whatever it's called. I mean, look at that. I think I went out of frame. Here. How's that? That's all the way up. I think it's probably about, I think it's like 22 feet or something like that, maybe up. Yeah. You'll definitely use this if you're doing stuff up above your head. I've definitely used a lot more than usual. I definitely want to get that a little bit tinted for the future, but whatever. I just want to tint the whole cab. So, I mean, those are the basics on the machine. Other than that, I can't even explain to you. Well, I can't. That's why you guys are watching this video. This machine has so much power just in flow rate and capabilities. With the dual cylinder lift and the way this boom is placed on the machine, I mean, this thing is a miniature big excavator. I absolutely love it. The way Cat designed everything, the way they've done it all, I've honestly fell in love with this machine. There's no buyer's remorse or regret or anything like that. I love putting this thing on my truck and towing it. It's this job, or excuse me, this excavator has dwindled down job times like none other. There's a few jobs I've already done where I suspected the first time around it was gonna probably be, you know, a 2-day job is easily turned into a 1-day job, a 3-day job, or actually just recently a 4-day job turned into a 2-day job with this machine, just because of its power and capacity to just destroy the earth. It's so much quicker. I mean, this thing has more power than a skid steer does with its own bucket. I can tear up 1 yard of dirt with this machine way easier than the skid steer can break out a third of a yard of earth. So this thing alone is paying itself off as we go on. There's a few things hopefully going on in the future. I'll let you guys know as everything gets confirmed with. But other than that, if you're looking into buying a 310 and this is year round, this is the weight class, this is the generic usage you want, this machine is hands down an incredible machine. Why'd I buy this one over other machines? You know, I know Sam's looking at the Takeuchi, the 290, the TB 290, I think. It looks like a solid machine. I've never personally ran one. My biggest thing, I really wasn't the biggest fan of how the machine is styled. You know, I kind of, the 310 just looks mean. I really like the way they made it and everything. The 290 just didn't look, but on the same time also, the 290, I can't talk too much about it. It is kind of cool because it still is a dual cylinder boom lift with a rotator on it. So you get a little bit more functionality. However, you start sacrificing lifting capabilities and power output on your actual breakout force with the boom. And with that also, you can't pull back as far as you can with the 310 just because you run out of lift cylinder. You really do. This one here, as you guys saw, I mean, this will actually arch back a little ways. And you can, if you're not careful, you can actually hit the bucket on the cab of the machine. You get so much more pullback force and room to pull back with this machine. Like if you're dealing with trees, or if you're whatever the heck you're trying to do, and you just have that much more range of motion with this machine other than others with the swivel system. And I've learned also, speaking with a few other guys, if you're working in hilly country, if you're doing mastication or you're doing tree work or something like that, when you have that boom pivot, over time it's going to keep on relieving itself. So you'll probably find yourself kicking it back over a little bit because it starts kind of veering off. I mean, I'm probably talking about a few hours worth of work, but a few people I've talked to, it's annoyed them more than others. Some people, they don't think it's that big of a deal, but some people, it annoys them. So with this system, you don't have to deal with that. Your boom only rotates with your cab. That's only if you're rotating yourself. The TB290 is pretty comparable with horsepower. I don't think it has any dual pump system. Don't hold me to what I'm saying. So we'll just stop talking about the TB290. If you guys are more curious about that, Sam's going to be the one to know that. He's the one that's a lot more interested in that machine over than what I was, because I'm clearly sitting in a Cat now. Another machine, I guess, would be Kubota 080. And even with the new 080s that they have now, they don't even come close to a 310. It's completely, those 080s are more along the lines of a 308. So there's really no comparison there whatsoever. This is just a next larger tiered machine. And those are kind of the main brands. I've never really operated Deere excavators. I love their 210L skip loaders, and I love their 333G skid steers. Those things are beasts. Other than that, I don't even know. I think this might compare with a 120G Deere, I think. But I can't say much about that. I can only just say what I love about this Cat. One thing you probably don't love is the price on something like this. If you guys are really curious about the cost, it wasn't cheap. No, I didn't buy it outright. It's payments. They were nice enough to get 0% down, 0% interest, all that type of stuff. It's not a cheap investment. Definitely needs to work to make its own. After some research and kind of shopping around, yeah, Cat's on the more expensive side. However, I did get the extended warranty and all that type of stuff. It is nice. My old high school friend Wade, he is my dealer for Cat, which has made life really easy. And it's really cool to have an old friend, your dealer. I mean, I feel like I call him too much, and I probably bug him way too much, but the serviceability, even though everything in life these days has been hard to have in hand, in stock, available, I feel like Cat just has a little bit more capability over that. They're such a huge corporation between all the different dealers out there. There's parts out there. There's always a part out there somehow, some way, for anything that you might need it for. I mean, I can't say the same, or I could probably say the same for Kubota or Takeuchi. They both got, big corporations going on between everybody. I'm sure they're able to get parts in, but I felt like every time Cat, I've needed something, somehow, some way they have it, either it's on the East Coast or here, they're always able to get it somehow, some way. They're able to get their hands on it. Even goes for all the rental equipment I've had with them, where something breaks and they're like, oh yeah, I mean, they'll do anything to do you right. I'll tell you that much. I hope I was able to walk through the bulk of it. It's a small, I don't know how long this video is now, but hopefully you guys got a good look around. There'll be more and more videos as I go on of this machine actually working on a job. I don't have anything I can really do at home that I'm not going to destroy, other than logs. That's what Sam was doing a little bit. If you guys have any other specific questions, just let me know. I'll be happy to answer them. You guys can look at the spec sheets. Honestly, I've learned over time, spec sheets are spec sheets, but a machine actually on the job site working, the spec sheets always lie. I've really felt like with Cat, they underestimate their machines on spec sheets. They're always able to go over what their capabilities are. And I've seen others that, not to mention any names, but they have gone saying their machines are more capable than some other machine, but they can't even they can't do the real life functions of it the way they test out the machines to get these numbers. Biggest thing, do your research. I did a lot of research, a lot of reading, a lot of calls, everything. I mean, this is not something you're like, oh yeah, what the heck, I'll give it a try. No, this is a huge commitment that you can't just go and do something like that. And with complete honesty, I have no remorse, no like, oh man, that machine's killing me. No, this machine's making life easier, and I absolutely love it. Please like the video. Please subscribe. Again, if you have questions, just comment down below. I'll be happy to answer them. And if you guys want more information about other machines, Takeuchi specifically, Sam with V-Belt & Son, he's going to know a lot more than I am. So other than this boring video, thank you guys for watching. Have a good one.